welfare fraud goes beyond just Louis Gohmert and his idea that women are purposefully having children to get bigger checks. The governor of Maine is Paul LePage. He's a really despicable guy. I'll show you some examples of why in just a minute. But first, he decided to do a big investigation of welfare fraud in Maine. And he did actually turn something up. Between January 1st of 2011 and November 15th of 2013, he found that there were 3,000 transactions at bars, sports bars, and strip clubs made with EBT cards loaded with TANF and food stamp benefits. Wow. 3,000 transactions, thousands of times that people that are on welfare are going into strip clubs and bars and places like that and wasting taxpayer money. That seems just so significant. I mean, granted, it's without context. Perhaps if we offered up some context, it would seem less significant. How many total transactions were there during that time, Maine? Well, it turns out that there were 1.8 million total transactions, 50,000 per month over that time, and yet out of that 1.8 million, 3,000 of them were fraudulent in his view by being from strip clubs and bars. That amounts to just 0.2% of the total purchases and ATM withdrawals. And this is the result of his big investigation of welfare fraud in Maine. He should be ashamed of himself, or at least embarrassed about his inability to turn up some significant fraud. But no, he's not. He says, "This information is eye-opening and indicates a larger problem than initially thought. These benefits are supposed to help families, children, and our most vulnerable Mainers. Instead, we have discovered welfare benefits are paying for alcohol, cigarettes, and other things that hard-working taxpayers should not be footing the bill for." Now look, no politician has ever gone broke in America or lost office because they denigrated the poor. In America, we seem to love that stuff, especially on the right. We eat it up and we elect them to office many decades in a row. But I think that he's gone too far here, because this isn't the only time that he's specifically singled out and attacked the poor, the unemployed, basically those that are hurting the most in Maine, the state that he supposedly loves so much he ran for governor for. No, it's happened before. Earlier last year, he claimed that 47% of those in Maine don't work. They just choose not to work, echoing in that way what Mitt Romney said during the last presidential election. Well, he made a mistake there because he forgot that math exists and statistics and people who investigate this sort of thing. And it turns out that no, 65% of people in Maine are actively working or seeking a job. And the remaining percentage is made up mainly of the disabled, retirees, students, and homemakers. So it turned out that he was not correct there, which is wonderful. That's good for Maine. But look at what had to undergird that belief in his own state. That he thinks that nearly 1 out of 2 people in Maine are so goddamn lazy that they're just sponging off the state, just taking up these TANF benefits and then going to a bar and buying a drink. He despises at least half of his state. Now, also, he said that people who didn't have a job should get off the couch and get themselves a job back in 2012, despite the fact that in his state in particular, there were relatively few job openings. They're not understanding or not appreciating or empathizing with those who have a problem finding work. He also pushed for a 5-year cap on welfare benefits, taking out benefits for 1,500 families, including 2,700 children. So look at this guy, who has been quietly working behind the scenes to become perhaps the craziest Republican governor in the country. Not in the Deep South, not even in the Southwest or anything like that. This is a guy up in Maine. I don't think that the people in Maine are going to stand for this for another term. This guy actively hates the poor. He hates those who are having the hardest time in his state. And he expects that those people are going to enthusiastically vote him back into office. I hope that it's not the case. There is, as I said, some precedent for people accepting this stuff, because especially when economic times are hard, people want to believe that there's some villain to put their harsh feelings, their bad feelings onto. And it's very easy to say, look, these lazy poor people are taking your hard-earned money. People do eat that up. But he's talking about their neighbors. He's talking about their relatives. He's talking about, in some cases, their children or their grandparents, calling them lazy and saying that they refuse to work. Hopefully that will penetrate the conscience of the average Mainer, but maybe I'm asking for too much there.